Today's recipe calls for dehydrated marshmallows. I'm going to show you how to make hot cocoa cookies. They're super fun to make and really delicious. So with that said, let's get started. The first thing we need to do so we can start these delicious cookies is brown 1 cup or 226 grams worth of unsalted butter. Toss the sticks of fat in a medium-sized saucepan that has a thick bottom. Snag the pan of goods and toss it over your heating element. Crank the heat to a low-medium temperature. The browning process should take 7 to 8 minutes or until it becomes golden brown in color with a really nice smell to it. Occasionally check on the goods. Also, stir the liquid fat from time to time. The butter will crack and pop at the beginning. This is all the water being cooked off. The next thing that will happen is a small layer of white stuff will form at the top of the butter. This is all the milk fats coming to the top. This is a good indication we are getting close. Now would be a good time to stir things more often. You'll notice the layer of fat will sink to the bottom of the pan. Then the butter will become super foamy on the top. We're really close now, so don't leave the pan unattended for too long. We'll be looking for a ton of little golden nuggets on the bottom of the pan. This is all the milk solids that have been toasted to delicious perfection. The color of the butter should also become golden and start to smell really nutty and tasty. You'll have to part the foam to get a good look. Once you see the little golden pieces, you need to immediately take the goods off the heat. Things burn easily once you hit this stage, so pay attention. After you've changed the color and shape of the butter, add the goods to a holding device that can handle hot liquid. Ensure you scrape the pan really well to get all the goodness out. Now we need the butter to re-solidify into a solid state. Toss it into the fridge box to make this happen. With that said, I highly recommend making the brown butter the day before you plan on making the cookies. This will give the brown butter enough time to cool and become solid again. The day of creating the cookies, pull the butter out to become soft. We need to use room temperature butter, or you can skip all this extra work and just use regular butter, which isn't as flavorful, but it's your life, so it's up to you. In the end, this is what you're looking for, is all these little nuggies of golden speckles. Now it's time to move on to the dry goods. Acquire a medium-sized bowl and a fine mesh strainer. To that, we'll add in 3 1/4 cups or 390 grams of all-purpose flour. Following that, we need to add the main ingredient, which is 4 packages or 140 grams of hot cocoa mix. I use dark chocolate cocoa mix, but feel free to use what you like. Then add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Next, add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. The next ingredient is optional, but will help intensify the chocolatey goodness. Add 1 teaspoon of instant espresso powder. Sift all the dry stuff into one dusty mess. Push through any clumps that were left behind. Add in 1 teaspoon of sea salt. After that has been added in, lightly whisk your face off to bring everything into a chocolate-looking powder. Before we get started, this is what your solid state of brown butter should look like. Snag a KitchenAid stand mixer with a paddle attachment, or use a hand mixer and a large bowl. To that, we'll add our 1 cup or 226 grams of room temperature brown butter, or regular unsalted butter if you didn't make the brown stuff. Slap the butter around for a minute or two. This will help break up those little flavor nuggies to ensure each cookie will get some of that action. Should look something like this. The next thing we need to add to the bowl is the cavity creators. Toss in 1 cup or 220 grams of dark brown sugar. Following that, add in 2/3 cup or 130 grams of granulated sugar. Cream the butter and sugar together for 3 to 4 minutes or until the butter has become lighter in color. It should also be smooth and fluffy looking. You'll achieve this with a medium-high speed. Halfway through, scrape the bottom and sides of the bowl to ensure everything gets a good mix. It's imperative you scrape the bottom of the bowl on the stand mixer. Things are notorious for getting stuck in this area, preventing things from being mixed in. With that said, throughout this process, you'll scrape the bowl a few times. It's a good rule of thumb to do this before you add the next set of ingredients to help ensure we get that proper mix. In the end, this is what your creamed butter should look like. The next thing we need to add to the bowl is 2 large room temperature weather eggs. I recommend cracking them in a separate container to pull any shells out if you accidentally get any. Add the eggs one at a time. Ensure the first one is well mixed in before you add the last one. Mix them both with the other ingredients for about a minute or two, or until they're fully incorporated in. Following that, add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now that we have all the wet goods mixed up, we need to add the dry mix to the bowl. Add things in while the robot machine is running on a low speed. We'll add things in 2 sets, so add about half at first. Turn the speed up to about medium and mix everything together till just combined. Give the bowl a scrape down and then add the last half of the dusty powder. Slap the dough around in the mixer until you cannot see any more of the flour mixture. When that has been achieved, stop mixing. You do not want to overwork the cookie dough. Doing so will create gluten, which in turn will give us a dense and tougher cookie in texture. Now transfer the chocolate dough to a large holding device. Next, toss in 1 cup or 170 grams of chocolate chunks. You could also use chocolate chips if you want. I like the chocolate chunks because they become nice and gooey when they warm up. Fold the little chocolates into the cookie dough until they have been fully distributed throughout. Following that, we need to add in the teeny tiny mallow bites, or also known as dehydrated marshmallows. Repeat the same step as before and fold them into the dough until well mixed in. Avoid using mini marshmallows, they will melt during the baking process, becoming super sticky and messy. A pro tip, if you can't find the mallow bites, just use the Marshmallow Lovers hot cocoa mix. You'll just need to separate the mallows from the powder. Fold everything together until your little chocolatey heart is content with your work. Alright, now that our cookie dough is made, we need to let it chill in the fridge box for at least 45 minutes or up to a full 24 hours. It really depends on how much patience you have. So I'm going to let mine hang out for a few hours because I have a couple things to do. So don't get cold hanging out in here, and we'll see you in a few. Before we pull the dough out, we can start preheating the baking cube. Set the temp to 350 Fahrenheit or 176 degrees Celsius. Grab yourself a half tray, line it with some parchment paper or a silicone baking mat. Alright, now that our cookie dough has taken a little nappy nap and our oven is preheated and ready to go, let's finish making these things. Now we can start portioning our cookies, which means we can eat these bad boys real soon. The first thing we'll do though is test bake a single cookie. This way we can adjust things like bake time or cookie size, things of that nature. After the initial test bake, start scooping and lining the trays. You'll want to use a scoop that will make little dough balls that are a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half in size. I find it easiest to use a kitchen scale for something like this. Portion each ball into 36 grams or 1.3 ounces worth of goodness. This weight gave me 36 cookies. After that, roll each ball in your mitts to create a little sphere. Toss them onto the lined tray. Remember to leave space between each cookie to allow them to spread their imaginary cookie wings. Keep in mind the longer the dough is in the fridge, the less cookie spread you'll achieve, which will give you cookies that are a little thicker and softer in the center. If that's not your jam, chill them for less time or bake them for a minute or two longer. Now that we have chocolate balls, we'll make our cookies more aesthetically pleasing by adding a few more mallow bites to the top. Lightly push the mallows into the dough. Once you've done that, snag the tray and hook that thing into the hot oven. Place them on the middle rack for the best results. Bake the goods for 8 to 9 minutes or until the edges of the cookie have set. Times may vary depending on how hot your little oven runs. You'll know they have set if you barely push on the edge of them and it feels firm in texture. When the buzzer rings, pull those sweet treats out of the heat. Once out of the oven, immediately sprinkle them with some flaky sea salt. If you don't have any flaky sea salt, just use a really tiny pinch of coarse ground kosher salt instead. I find it helps if you sprinkle the salt in the cracks of the cookies. It seems like it sticks better. Allow the cookies to rest on the tray for 5 to 6 minutes. This way they have time to completely set up before you transfer them over to a wire rack to cool the rest of the way. Repeat the same steps until all of your cookies have been baked off. Make these cookies for that infamous cookie bake-off so you can dunk on those fools with these. Or if you're not that aggressive, make them with your family. Enjoy them with coffee for breakfast or with a cup of hot cocoa on a cold, snowy day. Whatever you decide to do, just enjoy. Alright, now that our hot chocolate cookies are done, let's give them the old taste-a-roo. So looking at them, they look super aesthetically pleasing. The chocolate on the top and the sides and the bottom looks nice and milty and gooey looking. The little mellows look really fun and inviting. I'm sure all the girls are like, oh my god, look at how cute those little marshmallows are, or whatever they say. But any hoosers, the sea salt on top that we sprinkled makes the cookies look extra bougie and tasty looking. We got a nice hard edge on the outside and the bottom. And there's a little milty action of the mellows as well, which looks really nice. And the center looks like it's going to be super soft, so let's give it a shot. Broke it with ease. Then when we broke it, we got that nice pull of chocolate and a little pull of the mellows as well. It looks really tasty on the inside as well, so yeah, let's give it a shot. These things came out so dang good. They're nice and rich and chocolatey. Then you get that distinct hot cocoa flavor. The brown butter brings some nuttiness and brings a ton of flavor to the table and really elevates the cookies in my humble opinion. The little mellows on top, of course, are super tasty because it's nothing but sugar and reminds me of that cereal I ate as a kid, which holds this little special place in my teensy little heart. And you get that nice distinct vanilla extract flavor as well. It's nice and faint and plays well with the chocolate. The sea salt on top helps cut through the richness of the chocolate and helps cut through the sweetness of the cookie itself as well. So you get the best of both worlds, sweet and salty. Texture wise, there's that nice crunchy on the outside, but the center is super, super soft and chewy. These things are just super tasty and you have to make them. These cookies are simple to slap together, and they were a lot of fun to make as well because it's not your typical set of ingredients, so it was nice and fun to see something different and try something new. And you can pretty much do whatever you want with them. Maybe get rid of the white marshmallows and use some colored ones to really make that color pop even more. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching. And I ate like 5 or 6 of these, and I really need to go brush my teeth a few times so I can get that sugar off of there and maybe eat like a carrot or 2 so I don't feel so bad. But anyways, we'll see you on the next one. Nice caramelization, because you can't tell, they're already dark in chocolate, so there's no way you're gonna be able to see that, and you're just rambling on. And it looks like it's going to be really soft and you get a ton of chocolatey-ness. Back at this. And chocolatey. To the camera, see this? Different ingredients that you normally wouldn't use. I think the fridge is about to make noise. Called it. Stupid fridge.